Factsverse presents. This retired grandma taught 3 crooks a hard lesson the day they tried to jump her. We're always taught from a very young age not to judge a book by its cover, not to judge people by the way they look but by the character of their person. Well, apparently 3 criminals in the United Kingdom, they had not been taught this lesson well enough when they decided to try and rob a 77-year-old grandmother when she visited an ATM in the center of town. They ended up paying the price for not paying attention to their elders or learning this lesson in the first place. Before we get into the rest of the video, though, do us a favor, click that like button and also be sure to subscribe and click the notification bell so you don't miss our future videos. 77-year-old Winifred Peel has been retired for quite some time and really enjoyed her weekend routine of heading into town. The town center was only a few steps away from her home, and running a couple of errands or purchasing a couple of gifts for her many grandchildren before enjoying a quick lunch and then returning home for the day. The routine was pretty much cemented in stone at this stage in her life. She'd walk down a flight of stairs, collect herself and her belongings, prepare herself for whatever weather she might encounter while she was out and about, and then set off a block or 2 down the road, on foot, to her local bank and the ATM that was available 24/7. She'd collect a little bit of cash, enough to cover whatever it is that she was planning on purchasing that day with just a little extra just in case, and then set out on her adventures. Winifred knew this routine front to back, top to bottom, and went through the motions almost on autopilot. But it turns out that somebody else had been studying this routine as well. They'd been studying her routine so they could take advantage of her when she was least expecting it. 3 criminals had been watching Winifred go through this routine for more than a month and decided that when this grandmother had collected her cash from the ATM, they were going to spring into action and separate her from her money, an easy score. Or so they thought. They had been paying enough attention while drawing very little attention to themselves to know that Winifred was going to pull out at least 200 pounds when she hit the ATM. It would have been a tiny little sum for the 3 chuckleheads to split between themselves, just like taking candy from a baby by choosing to rob the elderly. Or so they thought. Boy, were they in for a shock! As soon as the first criminal reached over and tried to grab the cash that Winifred had just taken out of the ATM, they learned firsthand that she had fight-or-flight instincts that immediately kicked in to fight over anything else. She grabbed the young man by the collar and slammed his head directly into the ATM, knocking him into the front glass of the ATM 3 different times before the man slumped to the ground. The other 2 would-be criminals were stunned at this display in front of them and decided to hightail it out of there, leaving their unconscious friend crumpled up on the pavement with Winifred standing over him, ready to take on anybody else that decided not to turn tail and skedaddle. Well, as if that wasn't miraculous enough, Winifred also calmly and collectively called the police and had them come down to detain this young man that she had smashed into the ATM. She relayed accurate descriptions of the other 2 teenagers that had attempted to rob her, and all the criminals were arrested by the end of the day and sitting behind bars. She said she knew that these 3 were up to no good when they crowded her at the ATM, and she'd been preparing herself for the fight of her life should things go in that direction. When the police asked how she was able to effectively defend herself, she replied that she had grown up with 3 older brothers, and she'd also gone to the gym 4 days a week, every week for the past 40 years. So apparently those guys didn't know her routine as much as they thought they did. She was ready to go, while these 3 criminals clearly were not. Subscribe for more.